Boss Rush 540 Day 4. Now I'm showing you my EU account here because I'm going to demonstrate how you can kill Vaelastrasz when you only hit one artillery strike that just clears the ads. So he has 400 red health, so you need 200 damage with either 2 artillery strike or a Rogers hit in order to kill him. So I'm going to show you how you can do that if you don't kill him. I think this comp is actually better though with Elise. I'll demonstrate more about that later and explain it a bit more. But for this comp you would need to hit the Rogers or 2 with 200 damage in order to progress. And then I like using Malchezaar because you don't need as strong of artillery strike mercenaries to beat N'Zoth at the end that way, and it's a lot faster. But for this comp, the most important thing that you need to worry about is you need at least 26 HP on this water elemental by either getting it to rank 10, or you can use this frost dust equipment. If you use this though, you lose your ice block, which makes you need a lower attack anomaly on the greens on the first fight. So I would recommend just getting this to rank 10. It only costs 125 even if you haven't leveled it, if you're going to use this strategy. But you could use the equipment, but you would still need 1 point either in this or the elemental to reach the breakpoint there. The rest of the equipment, we're using the Blizzard, it's pretty standard stuff here, the heal, the counter rune, and then we're using Scout Spyglass, which needs to do at least 15 damage ideally. That helps on N'Zoth at the end if you actually fight him without Malchezaar. Then I'm using Eudora with the Battlecry Cannon. You can use Malchezaar in that slot instead of Eudora, but then you only have... We're going to kill Khadgar off, so you would have 5 mercenaries. You would have to hit Artillery Strike with just Rogers and Genn in order to progress. And then you may need the second one depending on your level by the end. So I'm just using Eudora so I don't have to run this as many times to show. Now this is a pretty ideal roll here, so you can win regardless of how high these guys are, but you need good attack RNG if they have higher. But since we got the really low one, we're just going to do this the easy way. So if these guys were really strong, you would want the first one to hit your water elemental. It's going to be a 50-50 which summon it hits. So you would want it to hit the water elemental and get frozen so it only swings once. And then you would want the next one to, say, kill your Genn summon and then hit either your Genn if you can tank it, or your Jaina so she ice blocks it. But we don't have to worry about that because our guys are weak. So, also if he had used the 8 speed here, it would have just hit our Jaina and she would ice block it. So even the 8 speed is fine. But you may need to reroll to get a low green anomaly or get some of those fortunate hits depending on the RNG if you're going to use this comp. And at this point, once you get transformed on Khadgar, you just root every turn and you have won the fight. We are going to fill our board with water elementals so that they can protect us when we kill off our Khadgar at the end from the last ad. And they'll also get scaled up by our Hearthfire from our Archmage Novas. And once Genn gets enough scaling from these Archmage Nova Hearthfires, you can start transforming him every turn and he'll do a bit more damage. So that actually depends on the level of your Blizzard ability. It determines the amount of attack you get from Hearthfire. So in my case, the inflection point where it's worth it to transform is around the time we get our 3rd water elemental. And then I'm just going to soften up my Khadgar a bit so he's ready to be killed off at the end. And then we just kill everything. It's also best to put most of your damage into Grimstone. I usually put my red damage... Oops, this guy's supposed to be transforming now. I usually put my red damage on the greens. But other than that, getting rid of Grimstone stops these immunities from going off, so getting rid of him early is best. Putting some damage on Khadgar. And then from here it's pretty autopilot.
I can smell
Just getting Khadgar ready to be finished off here. And make sure you have enough hit points on one of these to survive the blizzards. And also make sure you don't shoot your Khadgar with the Gorgon form attack if you're just trying to soften him up. You can also shoot your Archmage Nova at himself for a tiny bit of extra damage.
This one's mine.
Okay, just about ready here. Okay, we'll go ahead and get one last root here. We got plenty of attack on these elementals anyway.
I can smell fear. Let the games begin.
Alright, now we just need artillery strike. The Everywhere Worgen is actually pretty nice if you do have to fight at the end. Spike Shield's pretty good too. I like the Worgen better though. And of course we miss. I'm just going to go ahead and run this again without restarting the video. Much higher attack this time, so I can demonstrate how these go. It's possible this is a loss. You could just re-roll it and try to get low anomaly again. So you want to root on turn 1. And then you just hope. Hearthfire and 2 summons. He is doing the 8 speed, which tends to be a good thing. It's bad if they end up hitting like Genn past the taunts. So we're hoping this first swing hits the Ellie. That's good. Now we need this to hit either Genn or her, ideally her. And he's got too much attack, so you can see if our Genn was just a little bit bigger, it would have been fine. If that had hit our Jaina instead of Genn, it also would have been fine because of Ice Block. But you don't need all the RNG if you just get the good anomaly roll. Alright, modest roll, but a big Grimstone. It's best if you get really high holy rolls and then like health and stuff, but so here we're gonna need one of them to get frozen, and then that second hit from the second ad needs to probably hit our Jaina. Otherwise we will likely die. Oh, and he's doing this so that he could prevent a freeze here, so that's bad for us. So now we probably need it to hit Jaina and then Genn to not die, since this is going to wipe out both taunts. Nope. So if both of those swings had hit Jaina and then Genn, we would have been okay. It might have even been okay if it hit Jaina and then Khadgar, because he did survive one swing there. Alright, low green attack. Let's go. Nice, nice. Alright, this one should be a win. I don't think these ever get through the taunt wall. Let's see, if this one goes for the Genn first. No, I think we're always fine here. Because Jaina will be lowest and she has Ice Block. Actually, don't even think he can activate her Ice Block. Okay, got good RNG on top of it. Alright, so same deal here. We just fill the board with elementals, spam roots, start transforming with Genn when he's big enough, and kill off Khadgar at the end. Actually, I guess it is more damage to just make the elementals since they get scaled. I was thinking I might just make one elemental, but Jaina's ramp is pretty weak since they decided to make Renown not affect her scaling. So I might as well just get the elementals and let the Hearthfires stack them up. I need to start thinking about softening up Khadgar. Digging a bit later this time, just for the heck of it. To make sure you have enough hit points on one of these guys that you can finish your Khadgar.
one's mine.
Alright, so we'll do one last route here.
How curious. I can smell.
Okay, we just need artillery strike. Perfect. Okay, so if you hit Rogers here, you would take it. This is pretty nice for the last boss, so you could go ahead and take that. I'm going to take this just so we don't have the easy mode. Now for this, all you need is your 26 HP Water Elemental. So you put Jaina out, and you need your counter rune, counter ward. And then you just have to make sure they survive the passive from Vaelastrasz. And we use Genn as well. So we're just going to throw these guys out. And Genn is just because he's like self-sufficient, and he also gives some healing when you use Ice Flows. So turn 1, he uses a 0 speed here, so you can go ahead and buff up your Arcane Ward, and you might as well just shoot him, I guess. And you could counter yourself to let that buff be applied to you. You probably should do that actually, but it doesn't. I don't think it really matters. Okay, so now he's just going to spam this Burning Adrenaline as far as I'm aware. He does use some other things too, but we should be fine regardless of what he does. You need the board space, so you don't want to summon with Genn ever, so we're just going to shoot. And then here, I believe we make a bird. And you want to counter yourself on... Actually, wait a second. This isn't the right turn. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the reason this works is because these silver bordered summons don't get countered by your counter ward. So when you don't have a water elemental, you just want to summon a water elemental and pass. And that will not trigger your counter ward, and then he'll still get countered. And the reason it needs 26 HP, as you can see, it goes down to 25. So, okay, so he does have a 4 speed. So when he uses the 4 speed, just don't counter yourself. And this is going to die at the end of the turn anyway, so you might as well get some damage. You just want to shoot here. And then we're going to make a bird. You can heal this if you need to. So there is, like, you need to kind of skip these first couple of turns here. So there is kind of a health requirement on your Mage Guard plus your Ward HP. So I guess I'm around that requirement, since we are going to have to take one more here. Alright, so we want to make an Elemental, because we don't have an Elemental. And we can act at 5 speed or slower. So I'm going to do this. We can't use this Mage Guard unless we want the Sweep Aside to go off. So if you needed to this turn, you could counter yourself and Mage Guard. You could also position differently, so I'd say Genn on the far right would probably be good, so that he would take this 20 damage. But I'm gonna just let him be countered here. This is my first time doing this, so I wasn't aware of all these little intricacies. But we should be fine here, because next turn we have a Water Elemental. So we get to do a full turn, and I'm gonna heal my counter rune that turn. And the Genn will also heal your bird, so you never have to worry about your bird. Okay, so he's doing a Burning Adrenaline here, so we're gonna freeze him. And you pretty much do the same thing every time there. We're gonna heal this up now. You need to counter yourself, because he's going slow. Alright, now we're pretty much in the pattern that we were going for. So it's just summon an elemental. If he's doing something slow, don't do anything else. And I guess you need enough mage guard. You need at least 50 on your mage guard so that you can heal your arcane ward every other turn. And have it not die to the passive. So that's a requirement I was not previously aware of. But yeah, so you just do this until he dies, basically. And the bird will ramp, so eventually it'll start doing quite a bit more damage. And he's going slow, so we don't do anything else. Need that counter active. Because if he ever gets that adrenaline off, you start losing guys, so... Alright, he is slow. Need to heal our ward. And counter ourselves. So it's a pretty straightforward pattern once you get the setup. But there are places you can make mistakes, so you want to be a little bit careful until you feel comfortable with it. You also, I guess, need to heal your Medivh at some point. So maybe you need an even bigger mage guard for this to work. So that you are slowly gaining health over here. And then you can afford to do heals on your Medivh, or you could potentially get a Beastly Beauty out at some point and then kill it off. Is there a way to do that? I have to kill my bird to make space to do that right now. And I am going to have to do this. He might die in the interim. Now, the Beastly Beauty can be summoned behind the ward just like the water elemental can, so I think what I have to do here is kill this bird. And then next turn we're going to double summon to heal our Medivh. So if you had a bigger mage guard, you wouldn't have to kill this bird off, because you could alternate between either healing with a bird summon cast on Medivh, or just casting a mage guard on himself, because you'd have enough hit points on this ward to accomplish that. But instead we're having to do this weird thing here to keep our Medivh from dying. I guess technically, you actually could let him die, but then you wouldn't have anything to heal the arcane ward. And as you can see, the bird here has a gold border, so it doesn't have that. Like if you try to summon a bird, it activates the counter ward, so you can't use that to heal on this turn, unfortunately. So we just have to go with this. Kind of figuring this one out as I go. Okay, so now we have a freeze, so we can make some board space by swinging. And I'm going to have to heal this counter rune. So this is going to take a lot longer because my mage guard's not big enough. So this ends up not being quite as good as I hoped it was. There's a higher stat requirement than I would have wanted here. So we're doing the same thing here to get our health up on our Medivh. I guess you could lead with this pattern, get your Medivh big enough, and then stop summoning these Genn summons. And then get a bird out and ramp it. You do have to buff the ward on our freeze turns. Okay, healing up our Medivh. Healing up our ward. At least you do have a little bit of ramp with Jaina. This passive makes this a lot harder. I had originally forgotten he even had a passive. I wanted to do this just because I recently learned about the silver border summons. All of those ones that have that different color border. Like this here. They don't activate the counter ward because they're not considered abilities, where the ones with the gold or bronze border, like the bird here, are considered abilities. And we are starting to get big enough here that I can think about getting a bird soon. Maybe on the next turn, we'll go ahead and get a bird out. And we can always kill the bird again if we start getting too low. I don't want to do the math to figure out the optimal. Oh, I do need to buff. Well, it is high enough to take 2, so yeah, we can get the bird out now, I think. Since I have 55 on the Mage Guard, it's enough to slowly gain health here. Okay, so now we don't summon here. I guess you can cast this and it heals him. Or no, it doesn't heal him because the board's full, so it would block this Water Elemental summon, so it would actually wipe me if I did that. For those Genn heals, that distinction between the silver border or the ability is what determines if it still heals you when the board's full. So right now, if this board's full, if I cast this bird, it will heal me because it's considered an ability. But this one, because the summon doesn't actually come out, will not heal you if your board is full. So now we have to buff the ward. So now we're in the original bird pattern, and if we see Medivh getting too low, we can go back to killing the bird and doing Genn summons again. Hopefully I don't have to do that though. At this point, since it turned out you have to do all this shenanigans to keep Medivh alive, this is more of just a silly experiment. I don't think it's too practical, but it is possible. Also, towards the end, once you've got a lot of Frost Ramp, you can start using the first ability on Jaina instead of Ice Flows. And because he's frozen on these turns, it'll get that higher damage value. It's a pretty minor thing overall. Especially if you have really low ranks like this. Like you see it's only a 15 damage difference or something. So I definitely do recommend the Elise comp over this, which I'll show next. We are starting to get a bit low on our Medivh here. So I might need to kill my bird on the next round. Our Jaina's getting pretty strong after many turns. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot the bird. Which I can... Actually, don't think this does... I think it does do enough. Because this will get healed. Then I shoot here, but then it takes the Burning Adrenaline at the end of the turn, but that's reduced by the spell resistance. I think it works out. We just have to buff that. Oh, it doesn't die. Oof. Okay, well at least we built up health here, so it's fine. I think. Yeah, it should be fine, because I can Mage Guard here. Or Bird Summon. To heal. Or, okay, the bird dies there. Man, I kind of messed this up at the last second. I guess we just do this now. And then go here. Yeah, this will be fine. I forgot that bird had 80 hit points. I didn't think it was that high. Okay, we just summon. Almost through, but didn't. And it doesn't really matter what we do here. Alright, so there you go. There's how you kill Vael. Probably shouldn't, though. Unless your Medivh's really big and your artillery strike is low, then maybe it's worth doing it this way. Like if you had a really big Mage Guard. And there's another artillery. And for this, our only casters are these guys. It's going to take the Alaneth. Bird Buddy is a pretty good one to take if you hit that on Medivh. Although it does ramp your attacks, so sometimes when you get Hysteria'd into yourself, it can make it a little bit sketchy, so you have to be slightly careful. This is the best one. Now we're just going to keep Alaneth. So for this, I like to start with Medivh because you can just pass the first turn and let it get countered. And then you can get a Genn summon out to start ramping your humans' hit points. So I'll probably start with that. And then we want a third human in play to start getting ramped. I want that to be Rogers, I think. You can also start with Eudora. I also don't think positioning matters too much. I usually put smallest on the left, though. And I'll put Medivh on the far right, because I think it goes in like play order for the Hysteria attacks. So we're just going to pass. Okay, he's bouncing me. That's fine. And I can either taunt for health, or I could summon a bird. I think the birds like never live, so they're not particularly valuable. I can also swing here, get some attack ramp. We're not really shooting. I could like shoot with this for the Alliance. I'm gonna get some attack ramp, and I'm gonna health buff Rogers because she's kind of important. And Genn tends to like keep himself alive. Now, part of the reason that Rogers is important is that equipment on her, so she can AoE. And also, she can kill Psychus really easily. So I could like use Eudora here and do a bounce if I want to. I'm just gonna play my humans out though. I'm gonna put this over here. So I'm playing small to large on attack. I'm putting the summons at the end. I could have actually positioned just so that that spawned on the right, but whatever, it's fine. So we can actually just pass here if we want to. Do we want to? We don't have a Genn summon this turn. I'm gonna pass. I like to maximize Genn summons because that keeps you alive. So here I'm gonna kill off one of these to make space. We're gonna make a summon, and then I can use my treasure, which does activate my passive, or my equipment, and then we're just gonna shoot at him. And you don't really need to swing with those. You can swing at them to heal them, like on the 15/15s, or the Psychus. We should be pretty safe now, though, because everybody's got enough hit points, so we can start thinking more about damage instead of just preserving ourselves. So you see it went like left to right for the mercenaries, so that's why we try to position small to big, because then the small guys hit the taunts and the taunts survive multiple swings. So same thing here, we can Mage Guard to make something tank for us, or we can just pass because there's no summons because of Rogers, since we still have a mage or a counter rune in play. So we're just gonna pass. Okay, we're getting a Psychus, which is one of the easiest ones to deal with. I'm gonna buff health here, and I'm gonna ramp some attack. Okay, and so you don't have to worry about these defiles because we have Rogers. And actually, you can just use it for the Alliance because we can nuke this turn. And if you're too small, you can swing with these for a bit extra damage, but it doesn't really do anything for us here, since Roger's gonna have to hit it anyway, and it will just overkill. So you can see this fight takes a while, and that equipment helps clear this out so all these extra attacks aren't targeting random stuff. You just got a nice clean board. Okay, since Rogers took a swing here, we're going to let her heal herself this turn. So we're just going to do that. I could just pass here, but the bounce isn't a big deal. And we'll get a new counter rune that way. I'm actually going to position this way. The biggest thing is you usually want these like taunted summony stuff to the right, because you want them to tank hits and not swing themselves before they get killed by your other guys. Alright, so I'm just going to pass here, because everybody's locked out anyway. And one of these guys will be countered, but the N'Zoth will still act. Okay, so now we'll just kill the Psychus. That'll clear the board. And I'm gonna swing with... that won't kill it. Or no, it will. Okay, so since we have the 4 speed, this will get to swing into N'Zoth afterwards, so we can get this one out. If you didn't have this 4 speed, you would have to just swing with the Sky Guard and probably shoot with Spacemaker or something here. Or you could kill off... Actually, no, you can't kill off a counter rune because this isn't strong enough. But we are getting for the Alliance, so I'm going to nuke. And having all this junk on the board is just good for Hysteria. So you don't have to have Medivh for this. It's generally fine if you had like Edwin, or if you used Jaina or something. I've beaten this with Rogers, Genn, and Edwin quite a few times already. Alright, he's doing Hysteria. Could swing into him, just get some damage here. We're not super healthy though, so maybe we heal a bit. And I could either... I'm gonna give this taunt, so it'll just like eat a lot of my hits instead of me melee. Oh, I didn't counter myself. So we're losing our heal from Rogers. That's fine. Okay, I'm gonna do this to heal since we don't have a great target. And I messed up last turn. And here, I could either buff one of these guys. I'm gonna make a bird, and it'll eat hits as well. And we should get a nice bird shoot turn next turn with Rogers' treasure, so. This ended up being a pretty long run. He is doing Hysteria, so I could taunt the bird. And let's just get some damage, I don't care. And this also makes the bird crit with that big spell damage boost. So it's quite a lot of damage. Okay, he's making us attack. So that summon's good. And we got enough health here, I'm just gonna... I think this finishes him, actually. I could have shot with Genn there as well, but... And there you go. So, it is possible to kill Vaelastrasz with a weak artillery strike, but you probably shouldn't. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this one here, and I'm going to separate it into a separate video for the release version that I think is the better one for you guys to run. So 74 turns, not the quickest. You'd be better off running the other comp, which I'll show you the other comp here, but it'll be in another video, which I'll link in the description below this one. And that is this comp. And you don't have to run Malchezaar, you can run Edwin in this slot, so that you would have to fight them like I just did. Fighting them is usually not that painfully slow. If you happen to hit this Everywhere Worgen treasure, that one can speed it up quite a lot because it buffs your Rogers and your Edwin. And then if you bring Edwin, let's see, do I have him in a comp anywhere? If you hit, if you bring Edwin and you hit the Spirit Blade too, that one's also great. But you would still need enough artillery to be able to take those treasures. So yeah, if you just hit Spirit Blade, Everywhere Worgen, and then obviously the For the Alliance treasure is pretty good too to speed up that last fight. Killing it is not super slow, but the Malchezaar is 3 to 4 turn kill. Pretty much guaranteed if you play it right. So I would recommend that one, although you do have to hit those artilleries to get past Vaelastrasz. So good luck on your run, and if you want to check out that other comp, look at the other video in the description.